Hi, my name is Danielle O'Neill. I am a marriage and family therapist here in Cleveland, Tennessee. We have been talking about anxiety, and so today I wanted to address something that may be causing you a lot of anxiety, which is when children misbehave. That is something that can be really hard for us as adults to feel competent, capable, and in control of. We may act like we know what to do, but a lot of times we don't, and that's okay. There wasn't a course or a class in school on this, and that's actually why I have a job. So moving forward, let's talk about the goals behind the misbehavior. When we are in it, we are just focused on trying to correct it, and sometimes it can be hard to see what the child or even the teenager is trying to accomplish when they are misbehaving. So all misbehavior, whether it's child or teenager or even an adult, it's one of the four reasons. So it's either attention. So that one's a really obvious one. We're pretty good at identifying when children or even adults they just want attention. Like there are some kids that they just want more attention than others. And there are some adults that are that way too. And so they believe that they can only belong when they are just the center of everything. And it's like no one person can always be the center of everything. And that can be really disruptive in our classrooms and in our home. Number 2, power. There are some children that they just want to be the boss. And that can be really annoying. And also a little bit like challenging because as adults, we're supposed to be the boss, not the child. And we want the child to know their place. Number 3 is revenge. Sometimes children can absolutely be mean. And they can say some really rude and some really hurtful things when they are feeling angry and hurt, whether that's for a valid or not really a valid reason. They want to hurt us and get back at us. And then number 4, display of inadequacy. So this is when children just give up and they just refuse to do something. And that is really frustrating. So some of the ways that we respond as adults is we either just totally feel hopeless and we're like, oh my gosh, I just cannot get this student to ever do their work. They just completely refuse, or they just completely act helpless. We either feel hopeless, or sometimes we just step in and do it for them. We're like, oh my goodness, they can't do it, so I'm just going to do it. I don't want them to fail. I don't want them to fail this class. I have to pass them along. I'll just step in and do it. So when we have either one of those responses, we know as adults, the goal of this misbehavior is a display of inadequacy. We know that children are wanting attention when we just feel that exasperated and annoyed feeling. We're just like, oh my goodness, they will not leave me alone. They will not stop disrupting the class. When we have that annoyed, bothered feeling, we know that they are seeking attention. When we are like, wait a minute, I'm the boss. I am the adult in the room. You are not. We know that the child is seeking power. And then when we are tempted to get back at children and even kind of like punish them a little bit, that's when we know that the child is trying to get revenge, because we feel that same, when they try to do that to us, our immediate reaction, because we're people, is, well, goodness, I'm just going to kind of get back at you and I'm going to hurt you. Don't fall for that, because you're just playing into that cycle of revenge seeking. So now that we know the 4 goals of misbehavior, attention, power, revenge, and display of inadequacy, what do we do about it? Because sometimes the things that we have been doing about it may not be the most effective things. So number 1, when your child is trying to seek attention, and for all of the goals of misbehavior, long story short is we want to do the opposite So a lot of times when child or children seek attention, our immediate response is, go away, no, no, no. We try to ignore them, but we're still doing it in a way that is giving them attention and is still giving the impression that we're annoyed, because we are. So that no, 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 go away, how's that been working for you? If I had to guess, probably not all that well. So there are some options that you have. Number one is you can do the opposite by ignoring. And that's a lot of times what is taught for us to do when children are misbehaving. Sometimes that's not effective because when we're ignoring, we're still giving off the sense that we are annoyed. So it's like we're not saying anything, but they can visibly see all of the annoyance. So if you're going to ignore the misbehavior, the attention seeking, you have to do that from a centered, calm place, knowing that you're the authority, and also that attention seeking can't be so out of control that you can't ignore it. There are times as a teacher or as a parent that attention seeking is causing a disturbance, whether that's in a restaurant or whether that's in a classroom. And so you can't really ignore the attention seeking. So when you can't ignore it due to either the circumstance, the fact that like you're in public or something, or due to the fact that you just do not have that emotional control that day, which is okay. It's okay if you cannot reach that calm and centered place. Then what you need to do is kind of address the child and say, hey, maybe give them attention for like 2 seconds, and then say, okay, I know that you really want my attention. However, you can either just sit beside me quietly, or you can go play over there quietly. But right now I'm doing this. And you set those limits and you offer those alternatives. If not, you may have to remove that child calmly from the situation so that they're not causing a disturbance for you. So those are kind of your two options. You can either ignore, or you can give them other options for things to do. Second, if your child is seeking power, a lot of times what we do in those situations is we get into an argument, we get into a fight, we just start asserting our authority. What you want to do is you want to withdraw from the power struggle. You are the adult in this situation. It may feel like a power struggle, but the fact that you are the adult entrusted with authority, whether that's from being the parent or the teacher, means that in reality, there is not a power struggle because you are the power. So removing yourself. So sometimes, if possible, just walking away and just refusing to get into that argument. If not, calmly addressing the situation, setting the limits and setting consequences. And that may be removing the child calmly from the environment. That may look like, okay, I understand that you are really wanting to direct the class right now. At the same time, your job is to learn. So you can either do this or do this. And if not, you may have to go to the principal's office. And so you're just nipping that power struggle in the bud. Third, with revenge, is the temptation is to get back at the child. And so you do not want to play into that cycle. And that's where you really have to guard your own heart, your own emotions. Know that regardless of what the child says or does to you, that you are a whole, complete person. You are still a good parent. You are still a good teacher. And just first of all, don't say anything rude or mean back when they are trying to seek revenge. Second of all, you may have to kind of either remove yourself from the situation, or you may have to remove the child. And then at a later time, when both of you are not emotionally activated, which this applies to all of the misbehavior, is when the both of you are not emotionally activated, talk about the situation of, okay, like, I heard you when you said those really mean things, or you did that to me, or you did that to another student. Tell me about that. Tell me about what you were feeling. Tell me about what you were thinking. And just opening up the dialogue, but then also making the boundaries really clear with the child or with the student. And then lastly, for a display of inadequacy, your temptation is going to either be to give up or to step in. And so you want to be in the middle. So you do not want to give up. You do not want to give up on your child and agree with them that they are inadequate or hopeless. And so giving up would be, well, I guess you just can't tie your shoes, or, oh, I guess you really can't do the math homework. No. And it's also not doing the project for them. So you can just sit with them and say, if you have the opportunity, you know what, you're really struggling with this. And at the same time, look at all the things that you have done in the past. So encourage them with the progress either that they've made in the past or maybe something that they did that day. I know you can do this. We can either do this or this, and give them some alternatives, offer them some help without completely stepping in. Now, if you're a teacher, you have to navigate that within the context of the classroom. That can be challenging. And at the same time, at the appropriate moment, offering that help. So in the moment, you may have to move on to the next activity. The bottom line is not to just completely ignore them, but also to not just completely step in. Okay, I know you're struggling with that. Just, maybe that looks like, I don't know, if they were struggling to tie their shoe or something, maybe you talk to the parents and say, hey, you know what, they've been refusing to tie their shoes. Let's do the Velcro shoes for now. Let's work on this. And moving on and working with the child and really encouraging them when they do accomplish things. So, oh my goodness, like, you did stack those blocks, or you did do this, and really beginning to build their self-esteem is really important when you see a lot of displays of inadequacy, and if at all possible, not stepping in and doing it for them, but just kind of supporting them as they struggle with it, if you can. Okay, I see you're struggling, and at the same time, you're not giving up. You can do this, and just encourage without doing it for them. So there you have it. Those are the 4 goals of misbehavior. So number 1, attention, power, revenge, and inadequacy. And so now you know what to do. Bottom line is, do the opposite of what you're feeling like you should do, and then review this video for the specifics. Talk to y'all next time.